My name is Dave Alex Riddett, and I'm a cinematographer, known particularly for work in stop-motion films, such as Chicken Run.
No chicken escapes from Tweedy's farm!
All the Wallace and Gromit films.
It's the wrong trousers.
Shaun the Sheep. And a film I'm particularly proud of called Robin Robin.
Break into a house. Might be a bird, but I sneak just like a mouse.
Most people know me from Wallace and Gromit.
Full suction.
My educational background, obviously from normal schooling back in the UK, I went to art colleges. I went to Loughborough College of Art and Leeds College of Art. Leeds College of Art, I studied film particularly. And from Leeds College of Art, I went on to Bristol University to do a postgraduate in radio, film and television. Cinematography, well, comes from a very early age. My father was a photographer, so he taught me all the rudiments of photography. I developed my own films. But unlike him, I wanted to make moving images as well as just, taking pictures. And I love pictures and making pictures, but I liked pictures that told a story. I suppose I did a lot of cartooning and making comic strips when I was young. So that idea of creating pictures with a camera and then telling the story with them comes from that, I think. Well, I'm of an age where a good part of my life was working with film cameras and that. I mean, I started using cameras in the 1960s. When I was at art college doing film, it was all on film. It wasn't until really the days when I came to Bristol, so doing the postgraduate course. Again, I was still working purely in film. Digital didn't really exist then. There's an electronic news gallery and cameras, but which I had very little to do with. I was a film purist. I love film. I love the look of film. So it wasn't really until about 1986, I suppose, when, as a company, and I worked with a company called Aardman Animations, that we switched from using film to using digital. So in about 1986, I went digital. Reluctantly at first. I love film. I love the quality of it, and I love the film grain. But eventually, I was sold that it was probably the way forward. As it has been, it has helped the process a bit. I still miss film, but well, I think it's quite natural, and I think, like myself, I think a lot of cinematographers, do hark back to the particular look. I suppose there are certain problems with film which you don't get with digital, but there's certain advantages that it's very much in the cinematographer's eye, and it's not a medium that's shared throughout a lot of different people. I think as a DOP working in film, you do feel like you contain it a bit more. What you do, how you gather your images, how you light them. But there is a certain quality to film. There's a certain depth that a film has. As an animator, I always had this idea that the film grain was actually a good part of capturing basically inanimate objects, frame by frame. At least every frame had, because it had grain in it, created movement. So even though your subject matter might be sort of very, very stationary, the film grain helped bring it to life. Initially, our films were made for television. So they were in the 4:5 aspect, to start with, and then eventually 1:6:9. I do remember when we did a close shave, because we always had a hankering to be more cinematic, and it's for the light we shot that in 1:8:5, but because it was commissioned for television, they weren't too keen on that. So I discovered there was a format, I think, what was it, 120? I can't remember what it was. So I actually shot it in quite a strange format that, strangely enough, turned out to be about the same as 1:6:9. So even back then, before 1:6:9 existed, we shot a film in that format. But no, there's no particular reason for the film. It's the latest film was 2:1. I mean, we shot in a fairly wide format. But it's down to the subject matter. But initially, it's obviously down to who's commissioned it, what it's for. And I do recall being aghast at our first feature film, which was 1:8:5. is having done a digital version of it, I then had to sit for a pan and scan version, and I was horrified at having to, yeah. I thought, why? No, you just show it in 185. If I've shot it in that, I hate the idea of having to try and compromise. And strangely enough, nowadays, that is actually quite common. So when I'm shooting some films nowadays, which are for use in social media, they ask me to shoot it in 169 in a vertical format and in a square format. And I say, that's ridiculous. I can't really compromise every format so it works in all three. I'll shoot it in 169 and you'll have to sort out the rest. It's, yeah. But fortunately, that's with social media, that seems to be a thing nowadays.
What have you done with the controls, Gromit? Oh, now, that'll do. Just hold on a minute. Stop it. Gromit. Stop these confounded things. This isn't funny, Gromit.
I think one of the most enjoyable projects was Wrong Trousers, because for me it broke a lot of new ground. It's probably the first lengthy film, even though it's only half an hour, which was a narrative film. Up to that point, I'd done lots of short films with stop motion, lots of TV commercials, but to actually have the chance to do a fairly lengthy narrative film, but it was such a lovely script, such a brilliant script. And that carried on, and when we did the feature film version, the first Wallace and Gromit feature film, that was also enjoyable because, yes, being able to expand their world. The most difficult one, I don't know, I've not done a really difficult one, although we did venture on a film, our second feature film, which was for DreamWorks. We started a film called Tortoise and the Hare. Unfortunately, we started it too early and didn't really have a proper script, didn't have the characters developed. And we shot a fair bit of footage, but we had to drop it in the end because nobody was happy with the way the script was going and that. So, in terms of difficulty and disappointing, that was quite a disappointment. But fortunately, after that, we went on to do The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, which was much more enjoyable. Well, I mean, a testament to how how good I think they are. I have never got to disliking seeing them over and over again. And I do, obviously, with the grading processes, I probably see them 100 times, in the process of grading, and then try them out. And also graded them in different formats. Do grades for television and grades for cinema. Regrading as well, because they get re-released in a high definition. So I think all the films I've worked on, I have had to watch them over and over again, but I can still enjoy them, strangely enough. I can still,